How was it having your daughter do the voice of the young Ellie? And did you do a voice in this one yourself?
Yeah, I did. I was there's a camp master, the guy who's handing out badges at the end. Mm-hmm. That was me with the sort of Minnesota accent where I grew up. My daughter came in just to do the voice temporarily. You know, we did what we do. You guys probably know this, but we draw the whole thing out in almost like a comic book form. We film it, put temporary dialogue, sound effects, and stuff, and then we watch it. We can sit in the theater and watch the movie without having to do all the pain and suffering of making it yet. Well, there's plenty of pain and suffering, don't get me wrong. But we watch it, and then we can have a chance to react and redo parts. And we do all the voices ourselves during that. And we knew that if one of us tried to do a little kid, especially a little girl, that it would be so off-putting that. So I got my daughter to come in and just do the voice. We thought for temporarily, you know, until we got a professional actor. But everybody loved her, so it worked out. It's pretty cool. We auditioned a bunch of other kids, but didn't quite see what we wanted, so that was cool. The voices are fun, and I think in some part the voice actors. I mean, I don't want to discredit anything from any of the actors in the movies, but the animators are really kind of like the other half of that. So you start with hopefully a great performance, and then you match it. And you inspire the animators, and they come out with this really fantastic stuff. I mean, on Ellie it was so appealing, just the facial expressions and they did just a fantastic job. So,
what do you look for when you're casting a voice talent?
You sort of start to form an image in your head about what this character's all about, what qualities you're listening for. I mean, in some cases, you sort of have a voice already in your head, which is kind of dangerous because you want to be open to all sorts of surprises and who knows what actors will bring. But like in the case of Carl, for example, we knew we needed somebody who was a grouchy, curmudgeon-y, but who sounded charming and appealing. You know, there are plenty of people I think could do grouchy but not be very appealing about it. And Ed Asner just, he's got the comic chops to do all that and really bring a lot to the character, and so his name kept coming to the top of the list, and he was great to work with. So that was fun.
Just to follow up on that, there's, you can disabuse me of this notion, but I have this sense that as an animator, you have maybe the technical side you're comfortable with, the storytelling side, but maybe working with voice actors, getting performances out of them, may be the comfort zone that develops a little bit later. So I'm wondering if, particularly with regards to this, you're working with young actors on one side, and then a veteran actor who may not have done this particular kind of performance. Mm-hmm. How do you, as a director of actors, work with those elements?
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, most of us became animators because we're either social boobs or so sort of inwardly driven that we don't want to talk to people. I know Frank Thomas, one of the great animators, had said that he found most of the animators who were really good were awful at talking about it. They only could draw it, and they wanted to communicate so badly that the only way they could get it out was through their drawing. And so, I've sort of had to develop skills to like how to talk to, how do you speak actorese? You know, like what are the things that you can tell them that are actually playable? You know, and that's a whole other discussion if you want to talk about. We can, but yeah, it was. Like you just try to find each actor, you try to suss out as quickly as you can, like what is going to get them the information they need. You know, in the case of Plummer, Christopher Plummer, I was expecting to sit down and have like a nice hour-long chat about the character and how we would play it and stuff. And the first session, he came in and I said, "Oh, you want to talk about the character?" He said, "No, let's just go." Like he'd read the script, he'd done all his work, he was informed. What he needed was already there in the words. Whereas on the sort of other extreme of that would be Russell, who the kid was not an actor. Jordan, a guy we found in just doing a casting call, and his voice was really appealing and funny and charming. And so with almost every line, I was trying different tricks and coaxing things and doing the copy game and like him mimicking me and just a bunch of different things, whatever worked. So yeah, it's a you just have to kind of find where the actor is and what they need.
I had a question about blood.
Blood.
I noticed blood on a construction worker, and I thought to myself, well, not only did that make the scene more powerful, but have we seen blood before
I think there was blood in Incredibles, wasn't there? I think so.
Well, at least it wasn't used to that effect.
Yeah, and it really, I mean, a lot of people were kind of concerned about it, but it works so well. When I saw with an audience, I was totally convinced that this was absolutely right. I was before that anyway, but people are so thinking like, oh, this is a cartoon, right? So when he hits the guy with his cane, we got laughs. And then the next scene where he takes his hand away and there's blood, everybody shuts up. They know Carl's crossed the line. You know, he's gone too far. And that's exactly the point of the scene. So even though it might be a little shocking, I think it really works for what we needed for the story. And, you know, blood's natural. Everybody's seen blood, right?
Yeah, well, quick follow-up.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a killjoy here, but you show a shot of the house as it's lifting off, and there's no Russell. And then later, he's standing on the porch.
That's right.
What do you?
He was hiding under the porch.
He does say that.
Remember he said he was looking for the snipe under the porch.
So he whipped around.
He climbed up
And-
once the thing was
In
airborne.
defense of that, I believe a character uses the same excuse later on in the film.
Yeah, Doug says I was hiding under your porch because I love you. So yeah, that was our workaround.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Appreciate
yeah.
that. I was bugging me. I thought, wait a minute.
I didn't see him a minute ago.
I know it works for the story, but I just
Yeah,
thought,
no, it's
you can't pull
get
that.
it.
All right.
Still a little weak. Oh, wait. I've got a question about your use of actors. It seems like a lot of your films do feature undiscovered talent, and that you don't necessarily rely on big names to sell your films. You actually rely on the films. Was this something that you kind of decided early on, or is this just kind of a natural? It just is what happens.
Well, I think early on when we were first starting, it was actually hard to get actors to sign on. Luckily, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, they were both kind of on their way up. Tom Hanks had done a number of TV shows, and I think he had just done Forrest Gump, or that was coming out. Anyway, he worked on like 8 movies during the course of Toy Story. But and Tim Allen, same thing, where we kind of caught him before he became a big phenomenon. But now it's more just, I think that worked really well. When we watch ourselves, we watch movies, I don't want to be thinking, hey, that's the famous celebrity fill in the blank. I want to just be involved with the character and the storytelling and not popped out of it. And so, if we find somebody, it's not a matter of whether they're famous or not, it's just a matter of whether they really fit the suit, and that's been our philosophy so far.
Traditional animation, like the hand-drawn. Have you thought about doing anything with that, or are you a fan of your art, a fan of what you do?
No, I love hand-drawn. I love it. And maybe someday, but it really depends on what the story demands, and what, if there's something that feels like it really has to be hand-drawn, then maybe I would go for that. So far, it's been pretty clearly delineated, like we're doing all CG, and Disney feature animation had, up until a certain point, been doing all hand-drawn. Now they're kind of back to a mix of both. But that's a whole art form that takes years of building up skills and infrastructure and talent and stuff, so it would be tricky to pull it off. But we've done little dips into it, like in the Rat DVD, there was a short film called Your Friend the Rat that had some hand-drawn and stop motion. And it's always fun to goof around with that stuff. So, never know.
There's a kind of a paradigm that has developed with other animation of late, which is this very pop culture heavy, gag heavy, and that has never been a paradigm with Pixar. I mean, you'll see the dogs playing poker, and we'll have our moment of chuckle of this familiarity. But that's really, is there an intention to kind of avoid that because that's a way of pulling out of the storytelling? What is the perspective when you're thinking about where's there going to be a punchline, and whether you want it to be something that's kind of that familiar, the laugh of familiarity rather than something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just a different approach, and like you say, for me, and especially on this film, we wanted to stay as pure within this world as we could, and so for Carl to reference something he had no knowledge of seemed like really wrong, and so we tried to keep it as kind of, I don't know that there's any real rules about it, just kind of whatever that particular story demands.